Hey guys, if you like what you're seeing, be sure to click below to subscribe and share.
It's not just about the photograph, it's the outdoor experience. Keep in mind everything that you need to know about photography. F-stop, shutter speed, lens selection. Nice photo. I've got beautiful light now. Oh my God. I'm your host, Doug Gardner, and your wild photo adventure starts now. For most aircraft that you're going to charter, usually it's going to be a Cessna of some type. Now the Cessnas don't have a gull wing door that opens like this beautiful vintage custom Stinson. This is great for photography because it allows me to shoot unobstructed in front of the wing strut and behind the wing strut. But with the Cessnas, be sure to talk with the pilot ahead of time because they have a window that opens up. It's got a window brace right here, and you need to have a little tiny screw removed so that the window will open all the way up under the wing.
All right, we'll get on up and see what we can see around the volcano there.
Sounds good.
You all set?
I'm all set. Let's roll.
All right, so looking straight ahead here, you can see we're coming up on Mount Spur. Still got a little ways to go to reach it. One of the 3 active volcanoes in this area. I think the last time this one erupted was, 20 some odd years ago. There was a real big eruption. Yeah.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Boy, you can smell that sulfur coming out of the volcano right now, huh?
Is that sulfur or is that you?
I was just gonna say that better be sulfur we're smelling.
That's amazing, it's that strong.
Yeah. Well, you can see the steam coming out and stuff too, so you're smelling that stuff venting right there.
Like many of us, I tend to get caught up photographing the natural world from the ground, and often I forget just how beautiful aerial photographs of places like this can be. Join myself and Glenn Alsworth Jr. this week as we explore and photograph some of Alaska's most rugged and beautiful territory. I'm your host, Doug Gardner, and your wild photo adventure starts now. So once you get up and everything's ready and you're ready to get into the area where you're going to begin shooting, go ahead and open the window or the door if it hadn't already been done so. And you always want to try to shoot without glass between you. Now I don't suggest this for everybody, but I like to put my foot out on the wing strut. That simply gives me a little more stability. I'm able to kind of push back a little bit and hold myself even more stable. You want to clamp your elbows and arms down tight to the side of your body. Swing your knees as far to the right as you can, and bring your back up off the seat. Now, this is a lot of things to try to keep in mind when you're up here in the plane. The name of the game here is trying not to get blurry images. There's a lot of movement. You have vibration coming through the airframe of the plane, and you have turbulence. You got wind coming down the side of the fuselage, which is called your slipstream. Just inside the airframe here, there's no wind at all. So when you position yourself, you want to lean out till you find that slipstream, and you'll definitely be able to know when your lens is in that wind because it'll start tugging. And never ever use a sunshade when you're trying to do aerial photography because that sunshade sticking off the front of the lens, it will actually grab the wind and start to pull your lens back, and your natural tendency is to kind of fight it back forward. So then you end up with this back and forth wobble, which is going to create blurry images, unnecessary movement. So I find the slipstream, and then I backhand a little bit till I'm just out of that. Compose the shot, and start taking your shot.
So some of these older aircraft that fly nice and slow really make great platforms for photography. You have a little more time passing your subject. And a plane like this has been modified with these seaplane doors where they fold right up against the wing, gives you a real wide nice open window to shoot out of.
If you have an open door situation that you're going to shoot from, which is ideal, be sure you have double harnesses here. As you'll notice, I've got 2 safety straps. I got a big thick strap, and then I've got another secondary strap just for added safety. With aerial photography, the higher the shutter speed, the better. I never shoot less than 1/500th of a second, because go any lower than that, you run the risk of getting blurry images. When I go on aerial flight, I almost always take 3 lenses with me: a 17-40, a 24-105, and a 70-200. Now, 80% of the time, I only end up using the 24-105 because it's versatility. Great lens. It's a great wide-angle zoom lens. It's wide enough that I'm able to get some really nice wide shots without having to worry about the wing strut and the airframe getting in the corners of my frame. But yet it's got just enough zoom that allows me to zoom in a little bit to kind of clean up my compositions. Or if I'm flying over an area that has some really nice patterns on the ground or like patterns in ice, I can zoom in and get some nice abstract shots of that as well. This is absolutely beautiful up here. You know, aerial photography is, you're going to find once you get off that ground, it's a whole nother world up here. And especially if you have the opportunity to get up in places like this in Alaska, the beautiful mountain ranges, beautiful turquoise colored lakes below, snow-capped mountains, and you get some of the most amazing cloud formations that you're going to find anywhere on Earth.
I've done a lot of traveling as well, and I haven't found anywhere else I want to move to yet.
Yeah. And when you're using these short zoom lenses, f8, f11, those are ideal apertures to use. They're going to give you plenty of depth of field from this distance. You know, you got to figure you're anywhere from 1,000 feet from the ground and miles from the horizon of your image. So you've got a lot of depth of field that you need to cover that you want in sharp focus. You get up here for the first time and you're kind of awestruck. You don't know what to do. And a lot of times I would say just take a few minutes and take it all in and enjoy the scenery, then get back to work. It's so peaceful looking up here.
Yeah, and it goes on forever. You know, you see each mountain has all these little peaks and crags and valleys and snow caps and stuff, and then when you look out across the top of all of it, it's just amazing to see how far it goes.
You know, when we're passing real close to some of those peaks from the window here, it looks like it's 400 or 500 feet. And I was really shocked when you told me it was almost 1.5 miles away. Then when you look at the perspective of the other mountains in the background, you realize just how vast this area really is.
Right. Yeah, because the mountains are so big, it just makes everything look right up close and in your face. Yeah.
I hope our other camera guys are getting some shots that show the perspective of how small our plane is in comparison to all this. So obviously the way you get your exposure is going to change depending on what your subject is. So once you get up to the top of the mountains where it's nothing but white snow and a little bit of black and gray rock, generally what I like to do is go ahead and just meter the snow. And then keep in mind your camera's meter is telling you that snow is neutral gray, and it's not neutral gray, it's white. So you have to bring the snow back to white without blowing it out, because you still, even though it's all white, there is detail in there to be seen. So I'll open up my exposure about 1 stop to 2 stops, depending on if it's full sun, this will be closer to 2 stops. If it's bright overcast, it's going to be closer to 1 stop. So when you're up in the mountains, you know, sometimes you run into some haze, especially in the summer months. When the warmer months, the warmer it is, the more haze you're going to pick up. One trick you can do, instead of using a haze filter, again, I don't like using a lot of filters, I will tend to underexpose my aerial shots just a little bit. And then when I process my images, I bump up my contrast and kind of saturate my blacks just a little bit, and it works great. It just helps cut right through that haze. I imagine y'all's winter weather, the atmosphere is really crisp and clear from photography.
Yeah, you know, you definitely have potential for some big winter storms, but then when we have those high pressure, clear, calm systems, it's just very, very clean air, very still, and it's a great time to shoot.
Now, I don't care how much experience you've had flying, how much aerial photography you do, or how tough you think your stomach is. You can be one of those people that never gets motion sickness, but if you spend too much time looking through this viewfinder and not taking a break, give your eyes a rest, even the toughest stomach can get kind of sick up here. So it's important to just take periodic breaks. And you need to do that anyway, because, you know, it's not always about, you know, the photography. It's about enjoying what you're doing, enjoying the scenery, and just taking it all in.
I'm just going to make a low pass on our runway here, make sure it still looks like it's in good shape and that the water hasn't come up onto it too much here.
So you're going to try to land right on the edge of the gravel, on the edge of the water?
Yeah, right on the edge of the beach here, just outside of the vegetation and up above the water in the drier part here.
I see bear tracks all over the mud.
Oh yeah. There's been a lot of bears walking through here. You can see all those bears chasing the salmon in the river on the way in, so.
Black and brown.
Yeah. And then there's some of them up here. They come up into this area and eat some berries as well.
It's about 40 degrees warmer here than it was up in the air. I think we'll just shed a layer,
All right.
grab our bags, and start the hike back into the glacier. It's a bit of a hike back in, but it's a beautiful spot. I think it'll be worth it.
What a beautiful place, Glenn.
Yeah, it sure is. This little valley right here is a bear trail that we're walking on.
Look at that scene right in front of us. That's amazing.
It's awesome. There's young mountains with sharp peaks. There's our glacier.
Yep, wow. Look at all the blue. That's amazing.
Yeah, isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an awesome spot here. We're getting that really good view now of the Shamrock Glacier. And then Mount Spur back up here in the distance. This is a place we like to stop and get some of these wider shots of kind of the broad landscape stuff from right here.
This is absolutely gorgeous. Look at all the icebergs out here in the melt area.
Yeah, that glacier is constantly shedding big pieces of ice and calving down into this lake. It's a neat place because it keeps it all contained because of the big glacial moraine ridge that goes around it.
Mm-hmm. And we're standing on the outer edge.
Right, yeah, right on the ridge itself.
Ridge. Wow. And you can see, look at the line across the hill there on the other side. It's a very distinct gray line. So that the highest part of that line is where the glacier was at one point.
Where the ice would have been right up at the top of that. And then as the ice melts back, it still leaves that big ridge of rock up in there. It takes a long time, of course, for the vegetation and stuff to take it back over again.
Wow. See a lot of opportunities here. I see about 4 shots right off the bat. I see we've got where the ice looks like it's all splintered, and you've got the crevasses and stuff over here with the little iceberg right in the middle. That's gonna be nice, and I think we can shoot that with a long lens. Then of course the big the whole thing here, the mountain ridge all the way around. We've got Mount Spur in the background. We've got icebergs and the glacier all in one shot. That'd be a nice wide angle shot. And then maybe if we get down in here, we might be able to line up some of those icebergs against, Mount Spur there.
Yeah, let's get some of these wider shots from up here, and then we'll work our way down closer.
Yeah, that is nice. So in a situation like this, you've got to make sure you expose for the whites without blowing out the whites. You want to maintain all that detail, and especially up here on Mount Spur, that is much brighter than the glacier. Over here, we've got a lot of blue, and it's backlit. And you've got some dark gray. Is that gravel on top?
Yeah, just gravel and
gravel
rock
on top of the ice. We don't want to blow that out. We want to keep that detail there, but we want it bright enough that we open up some of those shadow areas. Now, unfortunately, I do not have a polarizer for this long lens. That would really just make the colors scream. It would cut down the specular highlights on this situation and really help the scene a lot.
Yeah, bring those blues and greens out even deeper.
Right. Now, you're using a polarizer, aren't you?
I do have a circular polarizer on, and then the one thing I did forget in the plane, though, was my remote.
Yeah, I left
so
mine
too.
too.
To speed it up a little bit, or else use the timer for.
Right. Yeah. Normally on a landscape like this, and this is actually a kind of a close-up landscape, I would use a slow shutter speed so I can pick up all that detail. But being we don't have cable releases, we're gonna have to increase that shutter speed to reduce the possibility of camera shake or mirror slap. You know, while most of the time when you're trying to compose a shot, you want a strong foreground image or converging lines or something to draw the viewer's eye into the scene. There's also times like right now where you can take a long lens and just isolate all those little cracks and crevasses in the ice and form a pattern. You know, we've got all these little peaks of ice sticking up, and it's a really beautiful pattern just by itself. I'd actually call it like a long angle abstract. So this is really nice too. So, you know, look at the scene from many different lens selections and many different angles, and you'll be very surprised what you come up with. I still want to try to get down there a little bit closer if we can to the glacier.
It's about a half a mile down, but if we go fast, we should be able to get down there and line up some of those icebergs in the foreground of our shot there.
Some loose rock, watch it.
Here's a black bear right here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There might be a good shot from right there, Doug. Just stripping berries right off those soapberry plants here.
Look at him. He's working those berries pretty hard.
And this guy was probably just bedded down in some of this brush or something just before this, because all of a sudden he appeared right there in that little valley underneath us.
I'm waiting for him to get his head up. He's
Yeah.
got his head buried in those berries.
Well, it may not be a bad time then for us to move up
Keep
a little
moving.
bit. Yeah, while he's busy eating.
Yeah, let's do that.
Maybe we'll have a little clearer view of him too from up higher here.
He's just, you know, foraging from berry patch to berry patch, and he won't even look at us hardly.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's still awesome behavior to watch.
It is.
He's got berries all stuck to his head. As far as that beautiful, you know, quality lighting, we're probably not gonna get that right now. But it is interesting to see. It's all about the experience. I think we need to get back over to the glacier and try to concentrate on getting some of those shots.
All right. Get back to the plane, get up around the glacier while we still have some good light.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So go ahead and open the door now, you think?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because we'll go right by that.
That's really cool. We've got melting glaciated ice coming down the mountain here and creating waterfalls. That is amazing. It looks like little white strings hanging down.
It's beautiful. Yeah, and that's kind of one of the neat things in these mountainous areas. You get all this snow and ice and you know, hard rock way up high, but then you can follow that water down all the way through the waterfalls. On the way back into the lodge, I can show you some places you may be able to get into tomorrow to check those waterfalls out.
Oh man, that's amazing. Those glaciers start to melt. The water runs down to your little glacier lakes, and from out of the glacier lakes runs your rivers, and that's what creates. It creates all these beautiful streams and waterfalls, and some really awesome fishing. I'm hoping Glenn's gonna let me do some fishing before we leave.
Get the work done.
All right, here we are at the Tenalian Falls.
Wow, this is spectacular.
It is amazing to think how much snow and ice has to be melting just continually to keep feeding this.
All of this is pretty much glacier water.
Yeah, it's all melt. Yeah.
Wow, that's spectacular. I mean, look, we got so much going on here. You know, we got lush green, there's green algae on the rocks. You got the, you know, the dark rocks, you got black, spruce trees all along the edge. And look at the turquoise blue water. And this is actually a three-tiered fall. We're on the lower tier, then you got a middle one up there, and then you got the big one right at the top. A lot of spray coming off.
Right?
A lot of good opportunities. And you know, this is the best day to be shooting waterfalls. You know, a lot of people will go out on a bright sunny day and try to shoot waterfalls. And you can get some good shots of waterfalls if you want to try to freeze the action of the water and see every little drop and every little spray of water, you know, bouncing off the rocks. But in my opinion, you know, the best looking waterfalls are shot when you have that smooth, silky look to the water, and you know, and everything is evenly lit. And of course, a day like today, when we have this nice heavy cloud cover, everything is evenly lit, and we can slow the shutter speeds down to 1/15 of a second or even 1/8 of a second, and really, you know, smooth out that water and make for some absolutely beautiful shots here.
And it is a great day too because we have the cloud cover, but a little bit of diffused light coming down through to bring out the color in the vegetation and whatnot too. It's just not all gray for us, so great day to be shooting it.
Anytime I shoot a waterfall, I always try to get to an angle that is not dead center. You know, everybody, first thing you want to do is that they're going to go down and get right in front at the bottom of the waterfall and shoot it dead center, trying to center themselves right in the middle of the falls. Well, now that's fine if you've got something nice in the foreground, or there's layers to the waterfall, and you can get some kind of dramatic depth of field and feel as if the waterfall goes on forever. In this situation, we don't really have that. As soon as the falls drop, it's pretty much slick open water right here with a few boulders out here, but nothing that has a lot of characteristic that I can use. So I'm opting to come over here to the side of the waterfall and shoot across it. Now when I do that, I am losing the second fall over on the other side of the rock. But this is a really nice angle because I've got water coming down right to me here, and I've got all the backwash of the water right in front, and I've got spray coming up from the upper falls across the dark rocks. I got that lush green vegetation, and there's a lot of color in these rocks. Anytime you shoot a waterfall, use a circular polarizer, and it's going to help with a variety of different things. Number one, the black wet rocks. Anytime you have light coming from above and you got wet rocks, you're going to have kind of a white sheen or glare across those rocks. With the circular polarizer, it cuts that sheen off the rocks, and it richens the colors and makes everything pop out just a little bit more. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and rotate my circular polarizer until I see the maximum effect. So as you look at it, you'll see it'll be white sheen, and as you rotate it, it'll get darker and darker and darker, and then it'll start getting bright again. So then you got to back it up to where you found the darkest point. If you blow out those whites and lose that detail, you're never going to get that back. Shadow areas, you can bring those levels back up. White areas, once they're gone, you're not going to get them back. So that's our most important thing here. So I'm going to adjust my exposure until my histogram has as much information in the far right column of the histogram without touching the outer far right wall. And that is the best exposure for white without clipping it. I'll still have details there. So by using a small aperture like 16 or 22, I'm going to have my maximum amount of depth of field. Now keep in mind, a small aperture, 16 or 22, a lot of people get confused about that. A large aperture is going to be your smaller numbers like f2.8, f4, f5.6. The smaller the number, the larger the aperture. The larger the number, the smaller the aperture. So you want a small aperture to give you greatest depth of field. Now if we were trying to isolate something right here in the foreground and blur everything in the background, then we'd want to use a large aperture so we would have very little depth of field and kind of blur everything.
We got the boots on today. Without the boots, we'd be standing on shore and we'd miss a lot of the different angles that we could get by getting right out in the water here. So it's not just the camera equipment, but the actual proper clothing equipment that can get you out into those better shots.
Oh wow, we got a beautiful little harlequin duck. As everybody knows, I love to photograph waterfowl, but I did not bring a long lens. Anytime you shoot waterfalls, it's not just the waterfall itself that you want to look for. You've got opportunities for all kind of other detail shots. Now, as I looked across the waterfall here and the water at the base of it, I saw this beautiful little brightly colored leaf sitting on this rock. Now this could be an awesome shot. I could use that in my foreground with this nice green algae covered rock, and then I've got this beautiful turquoise water swirling back here in the background. Because I don't have my cable release with me, I'm shooting with my timer on and my mirror locked up. And I just take my hand off and set it for about 2 or 3 seconds and let it take the shot by itself. That's the easy way to do it if you forgot your cable release. Very nice, very nice.
Doug, you get some good stuff here?
Oh yeah, I think so. This is a great place to shoot. I think I got some good stuff, wide stuff and tight detail stuff. Really nice, really nice.
Well, this overcast has definitely been good for shooting the falls, but it's not so great for flying in if it drops down any, so we should probably go ahead and get back to the plane and head back to the lodge.
You're the pilot. Pilot trumps me any day.
All right, sounds good.
I can't think of a better way to explore Alaska than from the air. It gives you a greater appreciation of just how vast this remote territory really is. I'd like to thank Glenn Alsworth Jr. for flying me into some of the most spectacular landscapes Alaska has to offer. Hope you enjoyed this week's show and learned a little more about aerial photography. More information about this week's show is available online. And remember, it's not just about the photograph, it's the outdoor experience. I'm your host, Doug Gardner. Thank you for joining me on another wild photo adventure. Can't think of a better way to explore Alaska than from the air. It shows you just how it gives you a greater appreciation. In order for your first flight to be a successful and comfortable one, there's a few things. Most of the time you're going to be in a Cessna of some sort, forced to shoot through the glass, and it'll, come on Doug, get this. We got things to do. With the circular polarizer, it cuts that sheen off the rocks and it richens the colors and makes everything pop out just a little bit more. If I can get my polarizer out of my pocket.
Hey guys, if you like what you're seeing, be sure to click below to subscribe and share.